Good evening. Have you realized that over the last few months that there has actually been some concern about baby formula in the United States? In the last few months, as this is as of August of this year, the Federal Drug Administration issued warnings to three manufacturers in the United States due to severe code violations that were being experienced in their factories. If you've had babies or have family with babies, you know that the cost of formula has begun to increase significantly over the last couple of years. What started out as maybe up to 32 cents per ounce of baby formula is now anywhere between 54 cents and $1.32 per ounce, meaning that every single time you're feeding your baby 8 ounces of formula, that could be costing you anywhere from $4 per bottle up to $9 per bottle. This is being driven by the reduction in the number of manufacturers of baby formula in the United States. There has been, if these three companies do not get their act together, that's going to reduce the amount of baby formula being manufactured in the United States, which will lead to supply chain problems, meaning not enough formula in the stores when you go. It's going to lead increase in prices, and families will begin to probably buy more formula than they might need just to make sure that they have their own supply. So, what I would like to talk about tonight is another alternative. Let's consider alternatives that we could look at. This is just looking at the Similac. And again, getting back to the pricing for formula. What I'd like for you to think about is breastfeeding. And why should we think about breastfeeding? Well, one thing is obvious is the cost. Breastfeeding is very inexpensive. It's free. Your body is getting yourself ready for breastfeeding throughout your pregnancy. I am Carolyn Curtis. I'm the CEO and the founder of the Carib Company, and I'm here to really help empower Black families as they look at their alternatives for pregnancy and birth. So, a lot of times when you are talking about breastfeeding, it's to begin to present some of the positives. And some of the questions that women will ask first off is, are my breasts big enough? Am I going to have any trouble with breastfeeding because of the size of my breasts? And the answer is no. Let me show you what your breasts are composed of. And that's because most of the increase in the bra size is due to fat stores that are in the breasts. Let's take a quick look. What you have in the breasts are, you have the nipples, of course, is what we see on the outside, as well as the areola, which is that brown section around the nipples. But on the inside of the breast, every woman, regardless of your breast size, has the lobes that basically is where the milk is made and also stored. And then you have the ducts. And the ducts is what brings the milk to the nipples so that when your baby actually breastfeeds, the baby is squeezing down on the ducts to help move the milk into the nipples and into the baby's mouth. So let's talk about breastfeeding as to why it's so great. Number one, a lot of people don't know that breast milk will change as your baby develops and as your baby grows. The first thing that you're going to see right after your baby is born is what is called colostrum. And this is what's going to be present in the breast. It's somewhat of a yellowish looking fluid that's expressed from the nipples once the baby is born. This will be the first. And the colostrum is rich in antibodies and nutrients that your baby needs. Keep in mind that your baby's immune system is not up to snuff. Your baby can get sick from exposure to bacteria, germs, all of that. And so this colostrum is giving your baby all of these antibodies that the baby is going to need. Then when we talk about the milk coming in, this is kind of the early breast milk. That happens around day 3, day 4 after you've had your baby. This is going to be more of a whitish discharge or whitish fluids that you will have from your breast. And this is actually the milk that your baby is going to be drinking. And as your baby continues to grow, then the milk becomes more mature with more nutrients, that it's really rich in a lot more nutrients. So a lot of women will say, well, first of all, there's a question is one we've talked about is, are my breasts large enough? And the answer is yes. It doesn't matter the size of your breasts, what you see on the outside. What you're seeing is every woman has those globes and the milk ducts. There are approximately, as we saw in that picture, about 15 to 20 lobes in each breast. The other is that you will make as much milk as your baby sucks. And so when the baby, when you first have your baby and first take your baby home, for the first few weeks, you might feel like, oh my gosh, this baby, how am I making enough milk? This baby's not eating enough. The baby wants to eat all the time. Keep in mind a few things. One is your baby is small. And so your baby's little stomach can only hold so much. It cannot hold 8 ounces of milk when it's first born. And so your baby is little. So therefore your baby can hold only small amounts. And so your baby will eat frequently to be able to then digest and then eat more. The other good thing is that every single time your baby breastfeeds, it causes your body to produce hormones to create more milk. You can make as much milk as your baby needs. So as much as your baby breastfeeds, that's as much as your brain is being signaled to be able to release the necessary hormones to make breast milk. If you were to also pump your breasts, that will also create more milk. Women have been able to breastfeed twins successfully. The question that mothers will ask is, how do I know that my baby is getting enough? Well, after you have breastfed, is your baby sleeping? That's one. Also, your baby will gain weight. So that's how you also know that your baby is able to get enough milk. Sorry about my diction tonight. The other thing to consider again is as your baby grows, the milk does change. If you even have babies that are low birth weight infants or babies that are in the intensive care nursery, breast milk is still best for them. It contains all of these extra nutrients. It also has, again, the antibodies, all of these things, additional fat in the breast milk that will give the baby the things that the baby needs. Other things that are conveniences. I clearly am pro breastfeeding. I will tell you that now. Is that with the breast feeding, you don't have to get up and make bottles. That's one thing that you will not have to do. If you are a working mom and planning to go back to work, you are able to pump your milk and store it. You can actually freeze breast milk in a deep freezer for up to a year. So it is possible for you to work and to breastfeed. You can, most places now, particularly if you're working in government facilities, require for there to be a lactation room where you're able to go to either breastfeed your baby if your baby is brought to your job, or if your baby, say, is in a daycare that's at your workplace, or for you to be able to pump your breasts and to store your milk. So this is just some tips about breastfeeding. The other thing to keep in mind is sometimes the attitude that our own families may have towards breastfeeding. Number one is our bodies were created for that. During your pregnancy, your body is preparing itself to be able to breastfeed. If people in your family have not breastfed, they may not be so supportive of you. But I think if you're able to share information with them in terms of the nutritional good that breastfeeding is for your baby. The other thing is, if there is a baby formula scare, you don't have to be worried about it because you don't need to go find formula for your baby. So these are some of the positives. The other thing is that every woman can breastfeed. You need to give yourself time. And as I've worked with many women, I have worked with thousands of women throughout my career. And I can say to them, with helping them to breastfeed, you've never breastfed before, particularly with your first baby, and your baby hasn't breastfed before either. So give yourself mercy, give yourself time, relax, and allow it's a skill that you learn. As with many things we learn in our lives, it's something that you learn. And you can get help with the nurses, hopefully, that are in the hospital. If you have a family member who's breastfed before, they can also support you if you're open to that. There are also things such as lactation consultants, who are individuals who have gotten certification in breastfeeding and how to help mothers be able to learn how to breastfeed. So, this is the information that I have for you tonight on breastfeeding. It's just an introduction to this topic. There's so much more that can be learned. If there's any questions, I wish that you would place them in the comments that I can review for you and get back to you with any responses. If you have liked the information that I've shared, I ask that you would like, that you would share, and that you would subscribe to my channel. As I say, if you have enjoyed, please tell your mom, your dad, your aunts, your uncles, your sisters, your brothers, your nieces, and your nephews. I'm also going to be coming out very soon with a coaching program to be able to assist families that are thinking of becoming pregnant or are currently pregnant, to be able to help them to get the birth experience that they are hoping for. So thanks so much for taking the time. Stay tuned as we continue with more topics. I would like to also hear from you about the things that you would like to hear. So have a great evening. Thank you. Good night.